about April showers, Mr. Welsh? We've already had a couple of those early on.
Well, if they come in the way of ice water and Gatorade, bring them on, says Jay Bruce, because after all, the Reds have won their first 2 series of the year, and here they come into Chicago, the Little Lifter in the Windy City.
And how about this? Not only the home opener for the Cubs, they started the year out west. Jam-packed into Wrigley Field for the 101st opening game in this ballpark's incredible journey. Hi again, everybody. Alongside Chris Welsh and Jim Day, I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds Baseball. I know it's only a weekend, but you know, this is fun. Reds come in 5-1. Cubs are 5-1. Everybody expecting the Cubs to be there. Nobody expecting the Reds to be there.
Well, it's easy to look past the Reds. There's no doubt about it, because they didn't make anywhere near the kind of changes some of these other teams did. Here are the best records in the National League right now as we go to the ball game tonight. And the Reds and the Cubs are right there. The Giants have won 5 ball games. But this is the game I think a lot of people are looking at. But you know how it works on opening day, Tom? The opposing team is almost not even there. There's so much emphasis on this Cubs team.
Yep.
So much has been written about them. So much has been talked about them. How they've almost been given the World Series right now. Well, not quite yet. They've got to play a lot of games, including this one tonight.
Pitching matchup tonight, the veteran left-hander Jon Lester starting his second year with the Cubs. Brandon Finnegan making his first start here in Wrigley Field. Pitched very well his first start of the year.
Well, the Cubs have not seen Brandon Finnegan really at all. I think only 1 or 2 batters have ever faced Finnegan. He had a very good outing his first time. He struck out 9. The one thing to look for Finnegan, though, tonight is he's got to throw more strikes. The Phillies are very aggressive against him. The Cubs will be more patient. Jon Lester, well, we all know how good he can be. He beat the Reds 4 times last year in every one of his starts. But if they can get some base runners on base, they can exploit the one weakness Lester has, not being able to hold runners on. We'll see how that plays out tonight.
All right, when we come back, Jim Day will talk about the main man in the Reds lineup right now, and that's Eugenio Suarez. He is sizzling.
At Wrigley, Reds and Cubs, moments away here in Fox Sports Ohio. I'm Jim Day. You know, it was an energetic first week at Great American Ballpark, and no one's supplying more energy than Eugenio Suarez. He's our focus of our IGS, bringing the energy. He's got some pop, we know that. Man, did he put it on display this past week. First Red since Adam Dunn in 2004 with 4 home runs in the first 6 games. It was tough for Reds fans to say goodbye to Todd Frazier, but 1 week in, man, is Eugenio Suarez filling those shoes nicely. Let's go back upstairs to the guys that'll call it, Tom Brenneman and Chris Welsh.
All righty, JD, we'll be checking in with you throughout the entire night, and delighted to have you with us from Wrigley Field in Chicago. Clear skies, temperatures will get chilly tonight. The wind is blowing slightly in from right center field. The Reds batting order, Cozart, Suarez, VOTTO at the top. Brandon Phillips in the cleanup spot. Devin Mesoraco bats fifth. Jay Bruce in right, the hero yesterday. DUVALL a hero yesterday as well on defense. Finnegan on the mound, and Billy Hamilton will bat ninth. 32-year-old left-hander in his second year as a Cub, signed as a big free agent. Prior to last year, 11-12, but a very good ERA, John Lester.
Well, he's always had a very good win-loss record. He's got 128 wins against 79 losses lifetime. And they expect him, with the kind of money they're paying him, to deliver the goods here again this year.
Ball one up and away on Zach Cozart, and this one underway. They are jam-packed, and I mean jam-packed, into Wrigley Field here tonight. They normally open the gates 2 hours before the start of the game, but after all the anticipation of this Cubs team, went to the playoffs for the first time in 7 years last year, got all the way to the LCS. They open the gates for a 7 o'clock game at 4:20 this afternoon. Joe Maddon, the skipper, in his second year here in Chicago. 2-1 on Cozart.
Well, they may have opened the gates early, Tom, but Joe Maddon, the skipper of the Cubs, took his ball club and had them have batting practice early, and they ended early, really just as the gates were becoming open. Before a lot of people showed up, his Cubs team were off the field, so they wouldn't hear, I guess, the noise and the distraction that goes along with opening day.
2-1 to Zach. And it's into center field, and that is in there over the head of Zobrist. A bait hit for Cozart. So now is where you really zero in on the issues with John Lester. It's kind of like a golfer who has the yips. That's about the best way to describe it. He has a terrible time throwing over to first. Base runners know it. Last year, opposing base stealers had 44 stolen bases in 55 attempts when Lester was on the mound.
Well, the most stolen bases given up in the league, and the most attempts against any pitcher in the league. And the remarkable thing is, and the curious thing is, that a lot of teams simply don't take as much advantage of Lester's yips as you would think they would. We'll see if the Reds do here with their leadoff hitter on.
Ball one on the aforementioned Eugenio Suarez. 10 hits and 23 at-bats. 4 of them home runs, 9 runs batted in, and now all of a sudden, the training staff coming out to talk with Zach Cozart. Steve Bauman, the first-year head trainer, and the manager, Brian Price.
Well, there was obviously something going on prior to this, because it didn't look like anything that we saw either in the at-bat, him running to first base, or taking a lead down there, where he showed any major signs of injuring himself. So maybe he had some tweaks going on down in that surgically repaired knee. Looks like he's going to talk his way of staying into the ballgame.
Yeah, don't want to speculate that that's what they're talking about, the right knee, but he did sort of reach down there and tap it a couple of times. But he's going to stay in the game. He is still wearing that very big brace, as you mentioned, Chris. Although he feels like he doesn't need it anymore, but it's just a little extra security blanket. 2-0 on Suarez.
Kind of interesting, really, watching Anthony Rizzo, the Cubs first baseman, just the first couple of pitches with Cozart at first base. He kind of takes the lead with Cozart, coming off the bag a little bit. And then when Cozart gets a big lead based on where Rizzo is, Rizzo kind of hops back to the bag, trying to get him to move back. So rather than trying to put the onus on John Lester to come up with a move to first base, they're trying to tackle it a different way with a little unusual defense by Rizzo.
Suarez looking for something to hammer. More than likely has a 3-0 green light the way he's going right now. And he takes a borderline strike. He thought it was ball 4. That's because it wasn't a strike.
That's a 3-0 Leo.
It's twice here in the year you've broken that out.
Well,
spring training and now the first time in the regular season.
When I see him, I got to call him.
You do. 3-1 to Suarez. And it's fouled away and runs a count full.
Really not a whole lot of tricks to John Lester. He's not overpowering by any means. He throws his fastball somewhere around, 92 to 94. He throws a lot of fastballs, a lot of cutters, and some curveballs. Rarely does he throw a changeup, even to right-handed hitters. But he just keeps pouring in strikes. Very solid pitcher throughout his entire career.
Lester, a 3-time All-Star. All those days with the Boston Red Sox. Spent half a year with Oakland before coming to the Cubs. 3-2, Cozart not running and fouled out of play.
The other side of Lester not being able to hold runners is the guy behind the plate, David Ross. Ross, even though he's traveled around, he's never been a top-rate catcher as far as a guy getting a lot of playing time, he still has one of the best arms behind the plate in the National League. He's always been a very good catch and throw guy. That arm is still there.
3-2 again on Suarez. And that is blistered to the third baseman. Throw to first, not going to be in time. Suarez, even when he makes outs, it's a loud noise coming off his bat. Let's take a look at the Cubs on defense, presented by Ford. Soler replacing the Cincinnati native who's out for the year. Kyle Schwarber in left, Fowler in center, Hayward over from the Cardinals in right. Bryant, Russell, Zobrist, Rizzo. They brought in Zobrist during the offseason as a free agent from Kansas City. And Ross has been the personal catcher for Lester now for the better part of about 5 years.
He has done that really his whole career. Of course, when he was with the Reds, he was the personal catcher for Bronson Royal.
Now Joey Votto. Joey only 4 hits in his first 23 at-bats with 3 runs batted in.
Some guys you don't worry about, slow start. There are certain players, if they get off to a slow start, sometimes they can get buried. But, this is such a small sample size for Votto, you don't even really give much credence to it.
Cozart has not even attempted to take off, and that is rare indeed if any leadoff batter, not only in the game but in an inning, does not attempt to run against Lester. It really makes you wonder if something is indeed bothering Cozart. I know he's not a big base stealer to begin with, and coming off that ACL. That ball is laced into left center field, and Cozart will move on first to third. Votto on his way to second base. Throw should have gone in there. It didn't.
Or at least
the Reds will take advantage of that.
Or at least should have been cut off. It didn't really look like Cozart was busting it from first to third. It looked like he was kind of in a fast canter, so to say, as he came roaring around second base and just kind of smoothly went into third. Soler's got a strong arm, no doubt about it. Sometimes these young guys like to show it off, but that's a bad play. Votto reads it well.
Soler has always been a right fielder. They put him in left field this spring, and by all accounts, it did not go well. He just did not look comfortable playing left field, but now with the injury to Schwarber, that's where Soler is going to play. Scoring chance for the Redlegs here in the opening inning. Brandon Phillips, 5 hits, 13 at-bats with a home run and 3 driven in. Only 1 out. 0-1.
Speaking of Soler going to left field, I went down to a spring training game with the Giants and the Cubs, and they had Chris Bryant playing left field. Joe Madden is one of those managers who simply doesn't care what other people say about, oh, you're going to put a young player in a different position. Aren't you afraid you're going to hurt his confidence? He doesn't care. He just says, this is baseball. Let's not overthink it. And I think the Soler is a guy that's going to have to make the adjustment rather than the other way around. If he wants playing time, he's going to play where Joe Madden pencils him in.
It's amazing how quickly what an organization can think about a player, because Soler was their #1 prospect just 2 years ago, and he would have been a backup player had Schwarber stayed healthy. 2-0 to Brandon. Oh, he had a good cut. 2-1. The scoring decision, if you're wondering, some of you like to keep score. VOTTO is only given credit for a single there. He had stopped, or nearly stopped, certainly a long pause. And then he noticed that Soler had thrown the ball into third base and took second. Three balls and a strike now on Phillips. Lester making his second start of the year. His first was a dandy. No other way to describe it, against the Angels in Anaheim. 7 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, struck out 4, did not walk a batter, but clearly, at least in the first inning tonight, he does not have command of his stuff yet. Cozart at third, VOTTO at second, 1 out. One hopper will bring in a run. And the Reds lead 1-0 in the opening inning.
Well, there's a situation that had that throw going into second base and kept VOTTO at first. That's a double play ball that would end the inning, and the Cubs get out of here without giving up a run. So one little small mistake, it seems like, by an outfielder can put your team behind.
Here's a guy the Reds want to get going. You talked about VOTTO. Nobody's worried about VOTTO getting going, and I'm not daring to suggest that people are worried about Mesoraco. But I mean, he basically missed an entire year. Only had 45 at bats last year and was never healthy in any of the 45 after injuring the hip. Devin 2 for his first 16 without an extra base hit or an RBI.
You know, it seems like when guys get hot and they're locked in, they stay very quiet except for their hands. When you're struggling and not seeing it well, you get a lot of body movement. You're trying to do too much maybe with your body. And that could be the case with Devin Mesoraco. Even the way you take a pitch sometimes will indicate to a pitcher and a catcher he's not seeing the ball very well. Because guys that are locked in, when they see a pitch at 2 inches off the corner, they don't even move a muscle. When they're not seeing it well, their eyes and their nose are following it all the way on the outside part of the plate, like Mesoraco did on that last pitch.
The Reds have done a lot of things well when you're off to a 5-1 start, but one of the statistical, areas where a team's win-loss record is greatly enhanced by winning games is if you score early or score first. The Reds have scored the second most runs in all of Major League Baseball in the first inning. 1 here tonight. They have 7 on the year. And remember, it was yesterday. They could have made it 3 games in a row. They had the bases loaded with 1 out before Mesoraco tapped into a double play. Big shift put on Mesoraco by this Cub defense. 2-2 pitch. We'll do it again.
That's a pitch that's hard to keep fair. One of the reasons that they will shift on Mesoraco with Lester on the mound is because Lester does not have a pitch really that goes away from Mesoraco. Everything he's going to throw, fastball, cutter, curveball to Mesoraco in this at-bat, are all coming into him. Those aren't pitches that you hit the right field. If he does throw him a changeup, it'll be a rarity.
Pitch in the dirt, and VOTTO will stay put. Count full, 3-2. This would be a very big second run if the Reds can get it in, just to really dampen some of the enthusiasm, putting the Cubs behind before they ever come to the plate. Payoff pitch. by 3 and the inning is over. But good start for the Reds. Cozart starts in with a single. VOTTO got him at third. Phillips drives him in. Cubs are coming up. Fox Sports Ohio, brought to you by Chevy. Check out their award-winning lineup only in your tri-state Chevy dealer. By Cincinnati USA, regional tourism network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. And by Skyline Chili, feeling good. It's Skyline time. Hustling, bustling streets of downtown Chicago. Cubs starting lineup under manager Joe Madden. Dexter Fowler in center, Jason Hayward in right, Chris Bryant at third. Anthony Rizzo at first, Ben Zobrist at second, Jorge Soler in left. Addison Russell, David Ross, John Lester, the latter third, against 22-year-old left-hander. His final start as a 22-year-old. He'll turn 23 in 3 days, Brandon Finnegan.
He will. That will be Pete Rose's birthday as well.
Wow.
And Brandon Finnegan had one great outing his first time out against the Philadelphia Phillies. Second game of the year, 6 innings, 9 strikeouts.
Fowler first pitch swinging, lifts one to right, and Finnegan will take that all day, every day. Now, the first thing you look at when you come to Wrigley Field, it doesn't matter if it's in April or June or September. You look at those flags, and right now, Chris, really not much of anything. Temperature, 48 degrees.
I watched the weather diligently this morning, Tom, and checked it, and all they said was the wind's going to be blowing hard, really hard, in from left field. But we don't see that. In fact, it's kind of a lazy little breeze right now, which saves the fans a lot of chilly nights, or a chilliness going on down here, because this ballpark can get mighty cold.
Oh, yeah. So we get our first look at Jason Hayward in a Cub uniform. Hard to believe this young man's only 26 years old. Originally a #1 pick by Atlanta in 2007. Played there through 14, a Cardinal last year, a Cub now. And look at this play by Adam Duvall. He made the throw yesterday that proved to save the game. And a diving stab on the liner by Hayward. What a play.
That's the kind of play that really pumps up a pitcher. A slider going away from him. Good bit of hitting by Hayward. And a great bit of defense by Adam Duvall.
It's been fun to watch this young man along with Schebler getting a shot in the big leagues. It's only a weekend, but so what? Right now, making plays.
Every play he makes like that, he is more of a believer in himself at this level.
Certainly. That one drilled to straightaway center, and how about that? A 4-pitch opening inning for Brandon Finnegan, and a 1-2-3 inning. Reds right back at it.
honoring the 50th anniversary of the umpire that broke the color barrier in Major League Baseball. I am talking of Emmett Ashford. Made his debut 50 years ago. He became a fan favorite for his showmanship. He was a guy that ran hard on the field towards foul balls and made the calls vocally with flair. Nearly 20 years after Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier for players, it was 50 years ago where Emmett Ashford broke that color barrier for the umpire. And on the sleeves of the umpires tonight, an EA honoring the great Emmett Ashford.
It's great stuff, JD. Thank you. And it's nice of the umpires to remember that day. So here's Adam Duvall. 4 hits in 13 at-bats. I'll tell you, with everything that was going on yesterday, Duvall's day, overall day, easily overlooked. He made the incredible throw from left field, cutting down Josh Harrison at the plate in the 8th inning. With what would have been the go-ahead run in a 1-1 game. He also had 2 doubles in 3 at-bats. He ran into an out. He was very upset about that, but hit the ball hard.
I talked to him about that running display yesterday, and really the way he explained it, you could see how it happened. It was just one of those bad timing things that he saw Billy Hatcher at third base, but he looked out there and saw that throw going to home, realizing, well, there must be a play at the plate.
Broken bat roller to Bryant, 2 out.
He double pumped, took an extra stride, and Duvall hustling down the line made it bang bang.
Lester threw, what, 26 pitches in the first inning?
In the first inning, he had 26, and Brandon Finnegan 4. So the Reds are not only winning the game, they're winning the pitch count game, too.
Here's Finnegan. 2 outs, nobody on. Looks at a strike. Brandon had 1 hit and 2 at-bats his first start against Philadelphia. Seven consecutive strikes thrown by Lester after struggling with his control in the first inning, and make it 8 to end the inning. The second strikeout. We've played an inning and a half where the Reds lead the Cubs 1-0. Presented by Ford. Duvall already with a great play in left. Billy in center. Jay Bruce in right. Suarez and VOTTO on the corners. Cozart and Phillips up the middle. And Devin Mesoraco hanging the signs for Brandon Finnegan.
Well, we've seen some pretty good D already in this ball game, and Brandon Finnegan has only thrown 4 pitches. That big D was that ball coming down into the glove of Adam Duvall out in left center field, robbing a double off the bat of Jason Hayward.
Well, you can tell back at home in Reds country, this is one enthusiastic crowd here tonight at Wrigley Field. I mean, the Kool-Aid they're drinking here in this town. I mean, look, they haven't won a World Series since 1908. They haven't played one since 1945. They had not been to the postseason in 7 years. In fact, in 2012, as Rizzo's quickly behind 0-2, they lost over 100 games. They had the most losses in baseball. That's when Theo Epstein took over this franchise as a general manager, president of baseball operations technically. 13-14. They finished dead last both years in the NL Central. But they kept telling the fans, much like Reds are telling their fans now, we're going to build this thing the right way. We're going to do it the right way. And then all of a sudden last year they win 97 games after hiring Joe Madden. They had Hayward, they had Zobrist, they had John Lackey during the offseason to go with all this talented young cast, including Rizzo. And people around here are really excited. Hamilton will run down the pop fly to shallow center field.
Well, the way he had to come in on that ball is indicative of the wind really knocking that ball down. We talked about the wind lazily blowing from left to right. Now it's coming in a little bit firmer. And Hamilton comes a long way. That's semi-routine for Billy.
Well, here is Zobrist, longtime Tampa Bay Ray, played for Madden when he was the manager there with the Rays. Was traded to Oakland. Then signed with Kansas City after being traded there last year and helped that team down the stretch win a World Series. Outstanding all-around player. I mean, never been a superstar, but extremely versatile. Great eye of the strike zone. Only struck out 56 times in over 550 plate appearances last year. Routine ground ball for Cozart, 2 out.
Well, the no strikeout idea is something the Cubs are, at least in the eyes of Joe Madden, hopefully that they really embrace, because you know you get a lot of young players that come up and they make their way to the major leagues because they hit a lot of home runs in the minor leagues. Chris Bryant, Jorge Soler, Addison Russell, and they're susceptible to strikeout. Well, he wants them to embrace not striking out. With 2 strikes, choke up, battle the pitcher, hit the ball the other way. Zobrist is a living example of what he wants them to do.
You know what's interesting about the Cubs is it's ball 1 to Soler is that they have a whole team full of guys that strike out a lot, but they also walk a lot. So they're getting into other teams' bullpens very early in a lot of games. In fact, last year, put this in perspective for a minute, they had over 2,500 plate appearances last year without contact. That's almost impossible to believe. By far the most in the last 30 years of any team in Major League Baseball.
Now the question is, how do you change that from one year to the next?
I mean, do you want to change it is a question I would ask. This team scored the 5th most runs in the league, so obviously there's room for improvement.
Sure.
But but you know, you talk about it all the time, though. With young players, is that something that will just kind of work itself out?
I would think so. I mean, the talent that they have, as long as you start with talent, the longer you play, the better you're going to get. I mean, some guys come into the major leagues and they've reached their peak. But you can't say that about guys like Chris Bryant or Jorge Soler or Addison Russell or Anthony Rizzo. He's gotten better as the years have gone.
Oh, boy, is he. This is a guy 2 years ago hit 220.
Well, he hit 220 when he was a young player, and even then he was the man in the lineup. He is now just one of several men in the lineup.
Well, you don't want to walk this guy, Soler. 3 hits and 20 at-bats to begin the year. And we'll do it again. Brandon Finnegan has retired the first 5, trying to make it back-to-back perfect innings. And it looks like he might. Suarez to the glove side. He will. 6 up, 6 down. We go to the 3rd. Reds in front of the Cubbies in game 1. 1-0. To the next Super Saturday, April the 23rd. Thanks to John Morrell, the first 25,000 fans receive a VOTTO-matic Super Bobblehead. Reds and the Cubs for as low as $12. Cubbies in town for 4 when the Reds come back off this road trip. Boy, here's a guy you really want to see get on base against Lester. And that's Hamilton. I mean, you want to see him get on base against anybody. But what, he had 5 stolen bases in a game last year when Lester was on the mound?
Yeah, he did. And the Cubs are worried about that, obviously. They're worried about the bunt. Look where the corner infielders are playing. Way in. And even with 2 strikes, they're not buying into the fact that Billy just might not drop one. They're even with the bags.
I think some were surprised. I know I was. I don't manage a team. That Billy was not batting leadoff tonight. You saw 4 of 5 in his very brief career against Lester, and the ability to change any game with what he can do if, and it's a big if, he can get on base. But Cozart singled to start the game and scored a run. So Brian Price knows what he's doing. Hamilton puts a charge into one left field. Soler back to the wall. And it is gone into the basket. A home run by Billy Hamilton. Hamilton, his first home run of the season.
Look at the look of disbelief on John Lester. I mean, it's like he can't believe it. All he heard about in the scouting meeting about Billy Hamilton was throw him strikes, keep him off the base paths. They forgot to tell him about the power. And that's an 0-2 pitch, and he just unjammed him right now.
And not only a look of disbelief on Lester's face, I mean, he was just staring at Hamilton as he ran from 3rd to home. There's a smash back to the mound that Lester will handle.
guy?
Here's where he picked it up, looking at him. Brings a smile to big Alfredo Simon's face down there. Big Alfredo will get the ball after an off day tomorrow. We have 3 straight night games again here at Wrigley Field. That is Hamilton's first career home run here at Chicago's Wrigley Field. Good for him. So the Reds in front 2-0. Suarez nearly undressed Bryant with a line drive back in the first inning. Pitch got in on him, and it's in the air to Soler for out number 2.
Well, there's been a lot of talk about the Cubs in town all winter long, about them making the playoffs and so on. Well, you know, the White Sox down in the south part of town aren't a team that are just going to let that go away unanswered. Right now, they are 5-2 on the year. They won again today. The White Sox did. The Chicago baseball teams are a combined 10-3.
They beat the Minnesota Twins in the Twins home opener. The Twins have started the year 0-7. Well, that's a tough way to go, man. You don't wish that on anybody.
I wish it a whole lot more on the Twins than I do the Reds.
Well, that's for sure. You could fill in that blank with every team in baseball before the Reds. Here's Votto. He singled into left center field his first time up. Tell you another team that keeps right on rolling, the Baltimore Orioles, still only unbeaten team. They downed the Boston Red Sox today, 9-7. Orioles are 6-0. 2-1 to Joey. Off the end of the bat, 2-2. Joey Votto loves hitting in this ballpark. Statistically, anyway, and in a number of categories, his all-time favorite hitting park.
Well, the Reds got used to beating up on, or getting beaten up on, by the Cubs last year. The Cubs won 13 of the 19 games these two teams got together. The only team they beat more than the Reds were the Milwaukee Brewers. They beat them 14 times and lost 5.
On the ground to Addison Russell, and the Reds are gone in the third, but not before the most unlikely source for the long ball in the Reds lineup. Billy Hamilton makes it 2-0, his first career homer at Wrigley Field. a look at one of our storylines brought to you by Elk and Elk. I mean, this doesn't figure, Chris, to be the starting rotation the Reds are going to have even in about 3 weeks from now. But so far, real good from this group.
Yeah, I mean, you can't argue with the results. We really don't know what the rotation is going to look like 3 weeks from now or, 2 months from now. But Brian Price has got to be happy with what he's seen, not only of the rotation, but the bullpen. I mean, he didn't even know some of these relievers at all until they showed up in the clubhouse and said, here I am.
First pitch swinging to open the Chicago third is Addison Russell, and it's a fly ball short of the track, called in by DUVALL. Boy, these Cub hitters are coming out swinging against Brandon Finnegan tonight.
I'm really surprised at that, too, because the Philadelphia Phillies came out swinging against Brandon Finnegan and chased a lot of pitches up and out of the strike zone. A lot of strikeouts that Finnegan had against the Phillies, 9 of them in 6 innings, were all fastballs up and away and not in the zone. And the new mantra of the Cubs is we're going to work those pitchers. Well, not tonight. He's throwing a lot of first pitch fastballs. They're jumping on him, and they're making outs.
First pitch swinging, dribbled foul by David Ross.
And so far, you've got 5 fly ball outs and 2 ground outs. And we mentioned that when Finnegan pitched the first time about not everybody has to keep the ball down to be effective. Tony Cingrani, when he was up as a starter early in his career, he was a guy that pitched up in the zone. And I think that's the best spot for Finnegan, too. I mean, you want to throw it down from time to time, change the eye level. Your breaking ball is better down around the knees. But he's got life on that four-seamer, and more life at the letters than at the knees.
David Ross, 7 at bats so far this year, a pair of hits off the outside edge. 2 balls and a strike.
This is the 10th anniversary of David Ross making his debut with the Cincinnati Reds. And it was against the Chicago Cubs in Cincinnati. And he was catching his old buddy Bronson Arroyo for the very first time, because it was Arroyo's first time towing the rubber for the Reds in his career. And those guys became fast friends, and Ross a personal catcher really to Bronson Arroyo, and it revived Ross's career. He had recently come over from the San Diego Padres, and he was looking to being sent down to the minor leagues. And at one point, he was just holding a spot warm for someone else to come up out of the Reds minor league system and take it. When Arroyo said, where I go, David Ross goes. And that was the kind of job security that Bronson Arroyo gave to David Ross. And he has become now, has had a terrific major league career. And he's a personal catcher for John Lester.
He just turned 39 years old in the middle of March. He was with the Reds in 07, 2008. And in that year, he wound up leaving and going to the Boston Red Sox. Then went to Atlanta. Was there for 4 years.
He was a favorite of Bobby Cox there.
Yes, he was. And then he went to Boston. That's where he got hooked up with Lester in 2013. Was there again in 14. And then when Lester signed the contract to come to Chicago last year, Ross came right along with him.
And he's already noted that he will retire after this year. And they've got a special place for him in that brand new Cubs clubhouse.
You better believe that.
Love that guy.
How do you not? You and I were talking about him before the game today. I mean, really, it goes to show you, if you just keep your head screwed on straight, stay in great shape, keep grinding, be a good guy. Now, as you pointed out, that's a favorable position to be able to hang around for a long time as a backup catcher, if you can still catch and throw and do all those things, call a game. Never badmouthed any organization after he left. Always smiling, always upbeat, grateful for whatever comes along. And he'll advance as that one got through him as a walk-up. That'll be scored, a wild pitch in the dirt. Ross was the first Cub batter in this game that made Finnegan work even a little bit. And Brandon walked him. And now Lester being quite patient up there. 2-2. With 2 strikes, do they have Lester bunt him to third with 1 off already in the inning? Probably not. Probably let him swing away.
I'm not really sure why they would, except maybe they're hoping for a walk out of Brandon Finnegan. I mean, Lester, when he first came up, was one of the worst hitters ever. I think he was, what, 1 for his first 54, something hard to do.
3-2 on Lester. Back-to-back 1-out walks.
Well,
the number 8 and 9 hitters.
That comes out of the category of loss of concentration out there for Brandon Finnegan. And with that said, we've seen him in the past go through these streaks where all of a sudden he begins to lose a little bit, and over a short period of time throws a lot of balls out of the zone. And if you're wild out of the zone, you can be wild in the zone. And the next few hitters can make you pay with balls in the hot zone.
Only the 5th career walk for John Lester. And here's Dexter Fowler. Ball 1 away. Two on, 1 out. And that's in there, a strike to even the count on Dexter Fowler. Hit the ball very hard to center. It was caught his first time up. Fowler, 30 years old, grew up in Atlanta, was a U.S. Olympian. Two on, 1 out. Good pitch there. Looked like he pulled a string on him to mix in something a little bit different.
Yeah, he did, and that's the pitch that's really going to make a difference for Brandon Finnegan as you go forward. You know, he's got a good fastball, very good slider. You got to mix in that changeup from time to time, especially when right-handers are on your fastball.
2-2 on Fowler.
Tried it again.
Hayward would be next. During spring training, there were reports everywhere that Fowler had signed a multi-year contract with the Baltimore Orioles. And then he stunned all of his Cubs teammates by showing up to the Cubs camp signing a 1-year deal. 3-2. Struck him out. And that may have been a changeup again.
It was a changeup, 3 in a row. That comes under the category of stay stubborn with your stuff. And they just felt like Fowler's a very good hitting fastball hitter, and that he's just going to be aggressive here, and he just threw that pitch low. It looked like a strike, darted out of the zone. Excellent call by Mesoraco and good execution by Brandon Finnegan.
Now Hayward. He hit that sinking liner to left center field. DUVALL made the diving catch on in the opening inning. Reds lead 2-0. 1 out walks to Ross and Lester. Put 2 aboard with 1 out in the inning before the strikeout of Fowler. They're now trying to maintain that shutout and send us to the 4th. pitch there on the inside corner, a fastball to get ahead 0-2. Well, that's dandy location there. Great look from the third base line here at Wrigley Field. Well, you think about it, the 101st opening day game in this ballpark used to be called Weigman Field. They opened the gates in 1916. And the changes just in the last 2 years have been extraordinary. Scoreboards in left center, right field, you get a look. 1-2 pitch. Fouled away.
Well, I, for one, Tom, very happy that they decided not to knock this place down and build a brand new. I mean, there was some talk about that. There was some talk about moving it out to the suburbs at one time. But I mean, this has got such great history, and I know a lot of things have changed. But still, you walk around the concourse, you walk up and down the steps. Some of the steps are uneven. It just has that character that only Wrigley Field has. Maybe Wrigley and Fenway, but they're the last of the ballpark Mohicans.
1-2 the count. Fastball on Devin Mesoraco. So now the tying run will move into scoring position with 2 outs and a 2-2 count. Trying to take care of Heyward. Good fastball in his hands at 94 miles per hour, but Heyward able to foul it off. It'll be the 25th pitch of this half inning coming up for Brandon Finnegan.
That may have been the best fastball of the night by the Reds left-hander.
Finnegan threw 18 pitches in the first 2 innings combined. Again, 2-2 to Heyward. Off the inside corner. Is that a changeup to a left-handed batter?
Yeah, I talked a little bit about that with Brandon Finnegan. That's a pitch that he likes to use. He's going to use it too. A lot of pitching coaches used to talk their pitchers out of that. And I think it's become more of a trendy pitch.
Heyward hanging around. This will be the 9th pitch in this at bat coming up. Right into the heart of the shift, and Cozart will throw out Heyward. How about the young man Finnegan?
Like it.
Both started to rock a little bit, and steady as she goes to end the inning. Hickory, every Sunday Reds home game, you can get up to 3 half-price tickets when you purchase a full-price ticket. So bring the family to the ballpark. Next family Sunday game, that'll be against the Chicago Cubs. And that will be 2 weeks from yesterday. Visit Reds.com/family. Jam-packed into Wrigley Field, Chicago, the Cubs home opener. All the anticipation of what might be here in 2016 for this Cubs franchise, but these Redlegs have come to town with the same record as their highly touted division rival, and through the front 3, the Reds lead 2-0. Strike 1 on Brandon Phillips. Brandon knocked in the first run with runners at second and third, and 1 out. He had a ground ball to the shortstop, which was able to plate Cozart from third base. Devin Mesoraco next, and then Jay Bruce. Lester a year ago left spring training not only with the weight of that $155 million contract he signed, but far more importantly, he left Arizona last year with what he called a dead arm. He just was not ready physically for the start of the regular season. But I mean, he was their guy. Paid him all the money, brought him in. He went through the month of April with an ERA of over 6. He did not win his first game until the month of May. But when all was said and done, he had a 3.3 earned run average, pitched 205 innings, and struck out 207 batters. Most of that 11-12 record occurred before mid-May, the 12 part. Two and two on Phillips. Full foul again. We mentioned Lester had 207 strikeouts. That was a Cubs franchise record for a left-hander. Like a lot of franchises, the Cubs' greatest pitchers have been right-handers over their long storied history, and we saw the best of them all out on the field before the game tonight in Ferguson Jenkins. Boy, you look up that guy's career numbers. Truly one of the great strike throwers in the history of Major League Baseball.
He can make a ball do a lot of things, and all of them in the strike zone.
What a pitcher. Hall of Famer. And Phillips bangs one into center field on a 2-2 pitch, and he's aboard to open the fourth.
Really
so here we go again.
Really good at bat by Brandon there. I mean, Lester threw everything that he had at him, including, I think, the only changeup that he's thrown on the night. He just comes in with a little cutter right there. Looks like David Ross wanted that right on the outside corner, and you see Lester look back at Ross as if, well, where was that pitch? Well, it was up, and it caught the outer third.
Brandon, 23 stolen bases a season ago. You got to believe he's running somewhere in this exchange. Huge lead over there. And Mesoraco looks at ball one.
Well, the other thing to look at is how it will affect Lester with Brandon Phillips at first base. He just kind of rushes delivery that time and left the pitch high and away.
Well, you go back to the first inning. He clearly had a problem throwing strikes after Cozart reached first base.
So sometimes the fear of the stolen base can be more effective on the pitcher than the actual stolen base itself.
I'd still like him at second.
I do too.
Like him better at third.
And you have fear of him going to third.
Brandon really running well. Talked about all the weight he has lost really over the last 2 years. He was a little bit lighter last year. He is a whole lot lighter this year. Right around 195, 197 pounds, even though the Reds still have him listed closer to 210, 208. Phillips just daring Lester to throw the ball over there, and Lester just won't do it.
Yeah, it's the last thing that John Lester wants to do is attempt to throw to first base. And that's why you see the jockeying going on really between Anthony Rizzo, the first baseman, and Brandon. I mean, it's almost like a Little League play. Na, 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 na,
It really is.
know?
You're right. You're exactly right. It's a great way to describe it. Although I do have to ask you, Chris, I am very curious as to why he hasn't run yet. I mean, you have to take advantage, don't you, of every opportunity you have in this game?
He had an enormous lead and a big jump that time. Even bigger lead this time.
Little dribbler, and the only play is to first. If you take second base there, sometime during that exchange, Phillips is now standing at third. And again, it's not a case of you know, picking on Brandon Phillips or trying to be negative about it. Look, baseball should be no different than football. In football, when you know there's a weakness on the other team, you're stepping on their throat. In baseball, you have to do the same thing.
Yeah, I agree, unless the Reds' strategy is to leave him at first base, have him create some distraction, and maybe he leaves the plate out over the, or pitch out over the plate because he is distracted.
Breaking ball in there, strike one to Jay Bruce. He tapped out to Lester his first time up.
He'd like to turn things around with the way they have started in his short career against John Lester. Lester's had the best of Bruce so far.
The 2 for 12 includes his first time up tonight. Lester, a long look back at Brandon Phillips, and now Jay Bruce wants time. We are in the 4th inning at Wrigley Field in Chicago. Reds and Cubs each at 5-1 on the year, and the Reds lead 2-0. A run in the first and then a solo home run by Billy Hamilton in the 3rd. Phillips takes off, swing and a miss. Throw to 3rd, and he's safe. Got under the tag of Bryant. So that's where you wanted him when all was said and done in this at-bat to begin with.
Well, never really stopped him. That's the first thing that every pitcher is taught to do with a runner at second base. Make sure you watch him until he stops. And they're going to take a look at this again. I know they're looking at it in the Cubs video room.
They want to see if that tag ever made contact. It doesn't look like it did.
They're going to give now managers about 10 seconds to make their decision. And we're pushing past that point right now. I'm in favor of a clock right there. Let's take it out of the umpire's hands so that they don't go 2 seconds longer on one guy and 1 second shorter on another man.
That's a very good point. So now the infield in. Bruce with a chance to bring in the Reds' 3rd run of the night. 1 out. Breaking ball too low. Bruce, a hero yesterday. Boy, how exciting was that?
And exciting for him too, because he has really tried to do what Don Long has been preaching to him, which is keep that front shoulder in, get yourself set, and use the whole field.
2-2 on Jay. 3-2.
I mean, bad habits are hard to break, but Bruce is getting it. And he got a 95-mile-an-hour cutter in on the hands from Archimedes Caminero. And just like that, lined it down the right field line. The winning run scores, and Bruce was the hero.
Jay gone on strikes here for the second out, and the infield will back up. Third strikeout of the game by Lester, and now it's Adam Duvall. Well, now Ross going to come out and I'm sure talk to Lester about, hey, do we really want to take a chance with Duvall knowing the pitcher is batting in the eighth spot next?
Two ways to do this. One is simply go ahead and walk him, or you can do it the old Tony La Russa way, which is just pitch around and make sure you don't throw anything that he can hit, but make sure you don't throw anything in the dirt that gets by the catcher and scores a runner from third. And look how far outside that David Ross is set up. I mean, this might as well go down as an intentional walk. But with that said, Duvall needs to be ready.
Well, you leave that about another inch and a half closer to the plate. And that's a pitch Duvall can hit.
You can also push bunt that baby right into the right side of the infield. I'm not really sure. I'm gonna have to ask somebody on the Cubs the strategy behind that, as opposed to just a simple intentional walk. Warning his infield now that Brandon Finnegan may lay one down and try to bring Chris Bryant in a few steps.
Now Bryant is still about 2 steps behind the bag at third. Finnegan decided to give it a go. It's the first walk tonight by Lester, although 6 times he's gone to a 3-ball count. 4 times he's gone to a full count. And we're only in the 4th inning of the game. 73rd pitch for Lester. 0-2 on Finnegan.
So far it's been a very quiet opening day crowd. The Reds and Brandon Finnegan haven't really given the Cubs any reason to get up and cheer. And they like to keep it that way.
0-2 on Finnegan. Trying to dig deep and get a 2-out knock. Into left center field, and he's going to do just that. That baby's going to the warning track before it's cut off. Finnegan, an RBI single, and he is some kind of fired up over there at first base.
And why not?
Why not is right for Finnegan. That is his first career run batted in. And what a time to get it to make it 3-0.
Boy, just reach out there and slap it and let John Lester provide the power. This is a nice play by Dexter Fowler to glove that, to keep that from going all the way to the wall, because if it does go to the wall, that's another run in.
Now all of a sudden, here comes Billy Hamilton. 5 for 6 in his career against Lester, including a home run to the basket. His only time up tonight. Strike 1. Finnegan had his first major league hit, his first start of this season. And now his first major league run batted in. It creates so many problems for the defense with a guy like Hamilton, even with 2 outs, are forced to really tuck tight on the corners. Reds tonight have gotten runs batted in from a number 8 hitter in the lineup tonight, and now, after Finnegan's hit, following the RBI from a number 9 hitter on Hamilton's home run in the 3rd. Hit hard, but right at the left fielder Soler. But the Reds, for the 3rd time in 4 innings, get a single run and lead the Cubs after 3.5, 3-0.
In this stadium was April 20th, 1916. They hosted the Reds, and on that day, the first batter to step in for Cincinnati was Wade Killefer. And 100 years later, to honor that memory, 23 direct descendants of Wade Killefer are here at Wrigley Field, including his grandsons, namesake over here, Wade. They're wearing red sweatshirts that say "First Man Up." And I got to tell you, your name?
Campbell.
Campbell Killefer. You guys seem fired up to be here.
Absolutely right. He would want us to be fired up.
And I understand this is Tim, another grandson. Interesting, correct me if I'm wrong, but Zach Cozart, leading off tonight's game, did exactly what your grandfather did.
And he was a redhead, came all the way around. First single, first hit, and came all the way around first spot.
And namesake over here, Wade Killefer. I tell you what, how many stories have been passed down through the generations about your grandpa?
He was a real colorful guy. He went on to manage the Pacific Coast League, and he has a record for being thrown out of the most games of any manager.
Wow, how about that?
He was a colorful man.
Well, Tom and Chris, no sport like baseball to pass down through the generations, whether you're a fan or you're a direct descendant of players. How about this group up here?
That is a great story. Jimmy, I'm curious, have they always been Reds fans?
Were you guys always Reds fans? Actually, Wade Killefer played for a few teams, so how many different fan bases we got up here?
Oh, I don't track it as much. I hope the Cubbies can go to the series, though.
Uh-oh.
That answers all we need to know.
There you go, Tom.
Thank you.
You had to go there, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. I'm sorry to squash on a great story. I was hoping they'd say we love the Reds and we could all celebrate in unison.
Well, nice try.
You know, that's a great story, though. That is really, really cool. And there's strike 3 to Chris Bryant.
I'll tell you, what a great pitch by Finnegan. I mean, he's fired up out there after getting that base hit to drive a run in. Watch, when you see that again, you see Chris Bryant flinch when he sees that ball come in. There's something deceptive about that delivery, and he thinks that ball going to come in and hit him. And it stays right on the corner for a strike. That's a spot where Tom Browning used to make a living, right up there, up and in against those right-handed hitters.
And we know what kind of career he had.
We know what kind of career he had here in Chicago.
Yes, I was here that day, as were you. Well, we saw the Reds trainer Steve Bauman come out after the very first at bat of the game when Zach Cozart singled into center field. Manager came out along with him, seeing if Cozart was okay. Well, here in the bottom of the 4th inning, he has left the game. Ivan De Jesus Jr. taking over for Cozart. If we get any word from the Reds clubhouse, we'll let you know. That was a pretty good looking breaking ball right there. Too low, 2-1 on Rizzo, who popped up to shallow center on a sliding catch by Hamilton in the 2nd inning. Delivery, and it's ball 4. 3rd walk tonight issued by Brandon. 1 on, 1 out for Zobrist. Zobrist grounded out to short his first time up. There's 1, and just getting back in time is Rizzo, 2 out. Two away for Soler. Down strike 1. There's a changeup down and away from the right-handed batter.
He saved that and didn't use it very much at first. Really, the first time through the order. Second time through, however, he's used it a couple of times. And that's really the most ideal thing for a pitcher to do, to work through the first 9 guys, however long it takes you, but you don't show them everything you have, because the key for a starting pitcher is to figure out how to get guys out the 2nd time, and then the 3rd time you face them in the same game. Unless you're just simply overpowering, you've got to add a little bit and subtract a little bit.
1 and 2. 2 strikeouts, 3 walks thus far given up by Finnegan. And now trying to get the final strike, the final out, and get us through the front 4 here on opening night at Wrigley Field. Couple of National League finals earlier today after the Cardinals were swept in Pittsburgh for the front 3. They went to Atlanta, swept the series over the weekend there, had their home opener today, and hammered Milwaukee 10-1. And San Diego beat Philadelphia 4-3 in the Phillies home opener. 2-2 on Soler. Grounded foul. Game time temperature at 48 degrees. It's cooled down a little bit from there, not a ton yet. And as we mentioned earlier, the wind is really not a factor at all. Slightly, ever so slightly, blowing in from left center field. Those are normally winds that come out of the northeast, and they can be quite cold. 3-2 on Soler. We're expected to have good weather. We'll hope and pray for that to be true on Wednesday night and Thursday night after an off day tomorrow. So after getting ahead of Soler 1-2, it's gone to full count. Runner will get started at first, and here it comes. Straight up in the air. Hamilton underneath it. This should end the inning, and it will. 4 scoreless innings for the 22-year-old Brandon Finnegan. Fox Sports Ohio, brought to you by your local Ford dealer, Ford Go Further, and by Cincinnati Children's, ranking 3rd in the country on the U.S. News Best Children's Hospitals in America. Special hello, as always, for those watching tonight in and around Cincinnati Children's Hospital. Get a look at downtown Chicago. Brandon Finnegan listening to the advice of pitching coach Mark Riggins. Finnegan, for hitless, scoreless frames so far tonight, has walked 3, struck out 2. Reds lead 3-0, and it's De Jesus batting in the leadoff spot and hitting for the first time tonight since replacing Kozar in the bottom of the 4th inning. Day will undoubtedly be all over that story with Kozar if we get any information at all from the Reds clubhouse. Going 2 on Ivan. Lester has given up 3 runs on 5 base hits. The Reds have scored single runs in the 1st, the 3rd, and the 4th innings. Lester's only scoreless inning was a perfect inning when he retired Bruce DUVALL and Finnegan in the 2nd. Finnegan, though, so far is a story of the night. Not only shutting him out on the mound, but knocked in a key 3rd run in that 4th inning, his first career RBI.
And keeping a crowd that just can't wait to have something to cheer about completely out of the ball game right now. I mean, this place was really charged here before the game. When the lineups were introduced, the teams introduced, the national anthem, place where you could feel it. And all that energy has just kind of sat back in the back of their chairs.
You know, one of the really nice moments we saw today, speaking of the lineups, here's a fly ball on the right for out number 1. We told you earlier that young man from Middletown, Ohio, just north of Cincinnati, Kyle Schwarber, who was so spectacular for the Cubs after they brought him out last year and into the playoffs. He was injured in Arizona over the weekend. He's out for the year with an ACL tear, and he was the last player introduced. And this place went crazy.
They really did go crazy. They love that guy.
How do you not love him?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you not love Schwarber? I mean, he is get down and dirty, tough as nails kind of guy who can hit. And it doesn't matter if you were to bat him leadoff or to bat him 8th. That guy can hit. 69 games, 43 runs batted in.
Well, he hit 5 home runs in the playoffs.
Yes. He was their main guy in the postseason. And he's had a great attitude, even after tearing the ACL and getting the news as it's 0-2 on Suarez. He said, look, I'm going to come back better than ever. I'm just stunned he was able to walk out onto the field tonight.
Yeah, I am too.
It's 3 days after reconstructive surgery. 0-2 pitch. Suarez has lined out to Bryant at third, and then got jammed his last time up and popped up to short left field. Suarez 4 home runs already this year, and he's gone on strikes. The 4th of the night for Lester, 2 out. MLB.TV Premium is the #1 live streaming sports service that delivers everything you've come to expect and more. So check it out. Visit MLB.TV for details. Joey Votto is single in the first inning, which helped lead to a run. Grounded to short his last time up. Strike 1. Of course, this kind of weather is nothing for Votto. When you grew up in Toronto playing baseball, this is balmy.
I believe he still spends a lot of time up in Toronto in the offseason.
Sure does. He's a season ticket holder of that NBA franchise up there, the Toronto Raptors. I guess he's at games every time they're home. He was spending a lot of time down in Sarasota for a long time in the winter. And then I believe it was last year where he made the decision that he was going back to Toronto. Well, I remember, if I'm not mistaken, I think my dad had told me one night that when my dad was down in Sarasota a couple of years ago, that they had had dinner one night together down there. Strike 3 called, and Votto says, you got to be kidding. Having a few words for John Tumpain, the home plate umpire. Reds are gone in order. They lead 3-0. What a night it's been so far, Chris, for Mr. Brandon Finnegan.
Oh, you're not kidding about that. I mean, he's been coming right after the Cubs. Now, he has walked a few batters, walked 3 overall. But this is not an easy environment in which to pitch. Opening day in Chicago on a year in which they feel like this team is World Series bound. And he's kept the crowd out of the game. He's made big pitches when he's had to. And he's got the bottom of the order now to face here in the 5th inning. A lot of goose eggs up there in the 2 important areas, which are hits and runs.
Steve Reich one to the shortstop Addison Russell, who flied out to left field his first time up. It's interesting to note of the 3 walks that Finnegan has so far, and really that's the only crooked number you don't like that he has in his pitching line tonight. Strange that 2 of the walks came to the number 8 hitter and another to the pitcher. You can take it to the bank. That's not going to happen this go around. Finnegan will be coming after both Ross and Lester. Finnegan, a big deep inhale and exhale, and then a fastball at 93 is up and away, 2-2.
And right at the spot where Devin Mesoraco wanted it. Change the eye level a little bit. Now, are they going to go with a little change up, down and away?
One and 2 has gone to 3-2 on Russell to open the Chicago 5th. And he missed ball 4. So Brandon had that at bat get away from him. Maybe a little too fine after getting up 1 ball and 2 strikes. 4th one. And here's Ross. Finnegan, in fact, has had a 3-ball count to 8 of the last 11 hitters in the game.
Yeah, putting himself really through more work than he should. Maybe giving the hitters a little too much credit. Maybe just effectively wild so far tonight. Ross has got a spot, and that strikes me. Give it to him, and it's about thigh high on the inner third. A lot of hitters like it there, but I mean, he is strong enough to hit it a long, long way. Did you say 13 years for David Ross?
39 years young.
Not bad for a guy who's a career 229 hitter.
Well, he's in incredible shape even now. I was very surprised when he said this would be his last year. He looks really good. He's still doing all the things that you would want a backup catcher to do. Finnegan ate him up with a fastball up and in there. And that's Brandon's 3rd strikeout of the game.
That is just such an effective spot for Brandon Finnegan. I mean, we haven't seen one good swing out of a Cubs hitter yet tonight. You maybe can say the same thing for a Phillies hitter on that pitch in that location. The only runs he gave up against the Phillies were an opposite field home run to Freddie Galvis. Picked on a pitch that was up and away. Up and in, boy, he ties him up.
Bunted by Lester. Finnegan will take the out at first, give Lester the sacrifice. Russell in a scoring position, 2 outs in the inning. Coming up Wednesday night, it's a season premiere of Reds Weekly. It's always been a great show with Jeff Pecoro and Doug Flynn. We'll look back at all the pageantry of opening day in Cincinnati in the first week of action. Reds starting the year 5-1. That's Wednesday night before we get going. That'll be at 6 o'clock on your exclusive home of Reds baseball, Fox Sports Ohio. All right, big batter now. Reds leading 3-0. And here's Fowler, 0 for 2 in the game. Is fly to right and struck out. Threw a fastball right by him at 93. Not a thing wrong with that every now and again.
Love that pitch. Every time I see that happen, it reminds me of an old coach I had who's a Hall of Famer, Hoyt Wilhelm. And he used to tell us, you know, if you're going to hit a guy, or if you're going to come in off the plate when you're heading the count, come in at his feet. They don't like to get hit down there. And they don't get mad like you do when you come in upstairs. We've got to reset the feet in the batter's box. Can't tell you whether that was intentional by Brandon Finnegan or not. It can be effective.
Addison Russell leads out at second base. 2 outs, 2 balls and a strike on Dexter Fowler. Tapper down to Suarez. And that'll do it in the Chicago 5th. Brandon Finnegan. 5 no-hit scoreless innings, and the Reds lead 3-0.
Continues Wednesday from the Windy City as the Reds face the Cubs in Game 2 of this series. Reds Live kicks everything off at 7:30 April in the OHIO, presented by Meyer. Brandon Finnegan, the story of the night so far, he's got a 3-0 lead. He has yet to give up a hit and is commanding his stuff in the strike zone. And he's just sitting back and watching, hoping the Reds can get a little bit more on the board. Phillips, Mesoraco, and Bruce, the scheduled hitters here in the 6th inning.
So Phillips hits one down the left field line a long way, but Soler is able to track it. 1 pitch, 1 out. Very in the Cincinnati 6th.
Very athletic outfield. You know, we talked a lot about the athleticism of the Pirates outfield, anchored, of course, by their center fielder Andrew McCutchen. But you can say the same thing about these guys. I mean, Jason Heyward, if there's a better right fielder in the game defensively than Heyward, I mean, he can run him down and has a rocket arm. Soler can cover a lot of ground, and of course Dexter Fowler is a guy that came up used to covering all that spacious outfield at Coors Field in Colorado.
Devin Mesoraco is 0 for 2. And he's behind 0-2. If you're just tuning in, the Reds to start the game got a single by Kozar. And immediately the trainer Steve Bauman along with manager Brian Price came to first base to see if he was okay. He stayed in the game, went to third on a single by VOTTO, scored on a ground out by Phillips. 1-0 Reds. Billy Hamilton homered into the basket in left field to make it 2-0 in the third. In the fourth, Phillips a single, moved to second, stole third, scored on a single by Brandon Finnegan. His second career hit, his first career run batted in. And Finnegan on the mound. He has struck out 3, walked 4, not allowed a hit, not allowed a run. Cubs have action in their bullpen for the first time tonight. Right-hander Trevor Cahill beginning to throw. And Mesoraco draws a 1-out walk, second of the game given up by Lester. Jay Bruce has bounced to the pitcher and struck out. Been a very, very different night for John Lester tonight than the season opening game he had against the Angels in Anaheim. Well, you talk about a really nice way to wrap up your spring training and start your regular season. I mean, if you got to be on the road, the Cubs left Arizona. They went to Las Vegas for 2 days for a couple of exhibition games. It's about a 40-minute flight. They take about an hour flight to Anaheim to start the year, where the weather, of course, is perfect
year-round.
Then they fly down to Phoenix. Best time of the year to be there is right now, as we found out in spring training. You play a 4-game series there before flying back yesterday afternoon, and you have a night game to begin the year. So it's pretty good going. I mean, it may not mean anything, and it's not like it's 30 degrees or 20 degrees, but tonight is the first true cold weather game through the first week plus of the season the Cubs have experienced. Reds have been playing in it every day for a week.
Hardened.
Look at those lids. Love those lids. Like the Reds version a little better, but those are pretty sweet.
I bet you had one of those when you were a broadcaster here.
Yeah, right. I did. I needed it, I can tell you that. Never had it. Well, that looked like Bruce may have beat the throw, but called out by Jeffrey Kellogg as Jay. A double play will end the inning. Hayward, Bryant, Rizzo coming up in the Chicago 6th. Reds lead 3-0.
Lights out. He's mixing in that changeup. As manager Brian Price told me, that's the difference between the Brandon Finnegan that struggled in spring training and the one we've seen in the regular season.
One thing he did do that I think helped quite a bit in his first start was he really started to work in his changeup, and it's really a necessary pitch, especially for a guy like Brandon who has good action on his fastball. But a changeup's a nice complement to that to go with that hard breaking ball that he has. So he needed to add the third pitch to utilize it, which he did very well against the Phillies. And if he's attacking the zone and controlling the count, he's in really good shape to have another good ball.
Hey guys, that's the difference between working out of the bullpen, which he did a lot for the Kansas City Royals, and now growing into the starting pitching role.
Well, he wants to be a starting pitcher. There's no question about that. That's the first thing I talked about with Brandon in spring training. And he said, I'm here to be a starter, period. And that changeup that he used and uses tonight very effectively, he's even thrown out a couple of times to left-handers. You don't see that very often, but that can be an outstanding pitch.
Consider this, if you will. Finnegan, we mentioned, in 3 days from now will turn 23 years old. He was a #1 draft pick just 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, in 2014. Tonight is only his 22nd career professional start. Career.
Well, at 22 years old, you could be a senior in college. But he was drafted 2 years ago, so he was young for his grade to begin with, it sounds like. And some guys you can just push through the system. I mean, you know, he reminds me a little bit of his athleticism of a left-handed Mike Leake. You know, he's bigger, I mean, he's stronger, I think, than Mike Leake. But when they drafted Mike Leake out of Arizona State, the Reds, they just thought, this guy's ready for the major leagues, and he went right to the major leagues. And the Kansas City Royals did almost the same thing with Brandon Finnegan by pitching him in the World Series the same year in which he pitched in the College World Series.
Finnegan made 17 starts last year after making only 5 right after he signed. And then to get him to the big leagues, as Chris was just alluding to, he pitched exclusively the rest of that year out of the bullpen. Boy, he just chewed up Hayward. That is 92 gas under his hands.
I'll tell you, if you're sitting at home and you're a pitcher or an aspiring pitcher, he's teaching you how to pitch inside and pitch inside effectively right there.
All right, 5 1/3 hitless, scoreless innings for Finnegan, and here comes Bryant. He's fly to center and struck out looking. Fastball high, ball 1. Reds leading in the first of 3, last of the 6th inning by a 3-0 count. And there's that changeup. Boy, is he working that pitch tonight. You pointed out earlier, Chris, he didn't use it early in the game.
Now, he saved it, and I think that's a smart thing that you can do. I mean, you love to get through the order the first time throwing nothing but fastballs.
Grounder down to third, under the glove of Suarez. How will this be scored? How will this be scored? The Cubs do not have a hit in the game tonight. Boy, you'd have a hard time making that your first base hit in a game. Don Frisky is the official scorer at Wrigley Field. He's down there thinking it over. Error on Suarez. And that's a right call.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, Suarez, unfortunately, was already in his motion to kind of get that glove up, funnel it up, and just didn't get his glove down. Kind of in his ready to throw motion before he got that ball in his glove.
So for the first time, there's a little bit of stirring around going on inside of Wrigley Field. And a strike 1 on Anthony Rizzo, who's popped to center and walked. Two-base error on Suarez. scrambled foul to get ahead 0-2.
Getting right in his kitchen.
Barely making contact as Rizzo. Oh, 2 again. In the air, left field, playable for DUVALL. The wind will knock that down a little bit. The wind has picked up slightly here in about the last 5-10 minutes. Not a ton, but more than we saw earlier tonight.
Well, it makes it very difficult now for somebody to hit that ball out to left field, especially left-handers. It hasn't affected us because we've got the windows in our TV booth. Unlike where they have them in the home TV booth. At least we have them cracked open. I think down the radio booth, the Reds radio booth, those babies are sealed tight.
Yes.
I think your dad may have brought some caulk with him.
Smart guy. All right, now Zobrist. And a strike to Ben Zobrist. He is grounded to short and lined to short. Finnegan already a career high 91 pitches in the game tonight. We're only in the 6th inning, but he's not allowed a hit. 0-1 on Zobrist. Ground ball third. 6 innings of hitless baseball for Brandon Finnegan. Well, well, well. 3-0 Reds lead. We go to the 7th. Summary. Reds had a 1-0 lead. Billy Hamilton 4 of 5 in his career against John Lester. Homer to the basket in left field to make it a 2-0 game in the 3rd. And then Finnegan, his 2nd career hit, his 1st career RBI to make it 3-0, scoring Phillips in the 4th. but the story right now is Finnegan on the mound. 6 innings of no-hit shutout baseball.
Well, you're right, and if you look ahead, you don't want to get too far ahead, but you're wondering now, with nowadays the attention that managers and teams pay to pitch counts. I mean, do you take Brandon Finnegan out if he gets to a certain pitch count? To see what Brian Price does about that.
That ball mashed down the left field line off the bat of Duvall against a new Cub pitcher, Trevor Cahill. And Duvall's going to make a hard turn, but stop right there with a leadoff double. So now the Reds trying to add on to this 3-0 lead as the Cubs have to go to their bullpen.
Good high ball hitter is Adam Duvall. He gets one right there that just kind of spins for him, and he just rips it down the line. He's made some mechanical adjustments here since joining the Reds and has made himself a whole much better hitter in the process. Finnegan will be up for this at bat and be asked to bunt.
Bunted, and Ross. Duvall's hung up between second and third. Ross runs him back, and the tag is made.
And look at Brandon Finnegan heading on into second base. Man, this guy's an athlete. He read that perfectly. He lays the bunt down, not a good one. It has backspin on it. David Ross picks it up. Duvall's hung up in no man's land. But he stays alive long enough, and Ross doesn't run him all the way back to the bag. And with that throw to the third baseman, Finnegan reads it, and he goes into second base, head first. He's doing it all.
So in essence, because of the alert base running by Finnegan, yeah, you'd rather have a guy at third with one out, but you still have a runner in scoring position with one out. But it's a pitcher running. Hamilton trying to bunt his way on, fouls it off. Now, what did you think, though, of the base running decision there by Duvall? The play was right in front of him. It was clearly not a good bunt.
Well, it may have been hard for him to tell.
Gotcha.
How far that ball was going out in front of home plate. And he probably couldn't tell that the ball was going to have backspin on it and essentially stop right there. You're taught as a runner at second base, Tom, when you see the ball go on the ground, you take off to third base. So. Cahill's been around. He's on his 4th organization. Oakland for 3 years, Arizona, in which he was a often used reliever. Last year, he split time between the Atlanta Braves and here.
Well, there was a time people thought he was going to be a pretty good starter after coming up initially with Oakland.
Yeah, he actually was a starter a lot in Arizona too. But he started exclusively his first few years with the Oakland A's. This year he's pitched only 2 games, 1 inning.
Well, the Cubs starting pitching and bullpen coming into this game, they have just overwhelmed their opponents through the first 6 games of this year. In fact, they're almost completely identical to the Reds in this one area. The only game the Reds lost, they had the lead in the 8th inning. The only game the Cubs lost, they had the lead in the 8th inning.
You've been doing some research.
I can read the paper. Thankfully. I like the pictures better, but can read the paper every now and again. No, but the Cubs, Now, they outscored the Angels and the Diamondbacks 42-15. They've been averaging 10 hits and 5 walks per game. Hamilton out of there on strikes, and that's a big out for Cahill. Reds could use a big 2-out knock from Ivan De Jesus Jr. That's Finnegan, the base runner, out there at second. 2 are out. The breaking ball is outside. Well, we just received word from the Reds clubhouse about Zach Kozak. It's not his knee, that's a good news, but it's just above the knee with tightness in his right quad. That's why he left the game. Balls and a strike on Ivan De Jesus Jr. Way outside. Boy, the Reds would love to get Suarez to the plate here in this 7th inning. He's 0 for 3 tonight, but he has knocked the cover off the ball so far this year. 3-1 to De Jesus. Grounded foul. Of course, his daddy was a very popular player here with the Chicago Cubs.
Very productive, popular player.
Yes. Three balls and 2 strikes. Up to Rizzo. That will retire the side. All right. Coming up, Soler, Russell, and Ross. All eyes on Brandon Finnegan.
Without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Well, kick off your weekend with a bang with Fireworks Fridays at the ballpark. Friday, April 22nd, cheer on Joey Votto and your Reds when they take on the Chicago Cubs for as low as $12. Plus, just stick around after the game for a spectacular fireworks show, thanks to Thomas More College. So for tickets, here's the number, 513-381-REDS, or visit reds.com. Well, we're getting into sweaty palm time of the ball game here. Bottom of the 7th inning. The Cubs have yet to have a hit. The Reds lead 3-0. Brandon Finnegan on the mound, ready to deal to the bottom half of the order. Jorge Solar, Addison Russell, and David Ross, the 2 hitters. Pitch count for Brandon Finnegan sits at 90.
All righty, here we go. And it's rolled foul off the bat of Jorge Soler. So far tonight, Soler has grounded to Suarez at third and popped up to shallow center field. Bodies moving around. Chris alluded to it earlier in the bullpen. You know, this is an area for a manager, especially this early in the season, for such a young pitcher. This is a ground ball to the glove side, and it's out number 1 in the 7th inning. Chris, we've already seen this in baseball this year. It was out in Los Angeles during the early part, middle part of the week, when Dave Roberts had to make a decision about one of his young pitchers. I believe it was Ross Stripling, where he had a no-hitter in the 8th inning, retired a batter in the 8th. He then walked a batter on his 100th pitch of the game, and Dave Roberts took him out of the game 5 outs away from a no-hitter. Clearly thinking about the young man and the future health of his arm right at 100 pitches.
Well, remember, though, that the situation a little bit different with Ross Stripling because he had had Tommy John surgery previously. He didn't pitch much in spring training. It was in the 8th inning in which he was removed from the ball game. He ended up pitching 7 1/3 of shutout innings, but it was right at 100 pitches. And really, for me, Tom, the hard number of 100 pitches, I'm not really sure where that ever came from. So I'm not sure what Brian Price is going to do. Not going to be an easy decision, but I can tell you one thing. I can almost guarantee what Brandon Finnegan feels about it. Haven't been able to hang around Brandon Finnegan a long time. He hasn't been with the club that long. But just a little that we know about him, that guy's a gamer.
And you and I talked about this on the air the day after Stripling was removed from the game. And you alluded to the fact that Stripling's father thanked Dave Roberts for taking his son out of the game, for thinking about his future. This is a tough call for a manager. It really is a tough call.
And no matter what call you make, there are going to be people on the other side of the fence criticizing.
No question about it. 3-2 the count on Addison Russell. And that is strike 3 called on the outside corner.
That is a beautifully placed changeup.
5th strikeout of the game for Brandon Finnegan. He's 2 outs into the 7th, has not allowed a hit. Boy, that is a dandy on the outside corner. So here's a number 8 batter, the catcher David Ross. And Finnegan going to work. Strike 1. His 102nd pitch. That one down around the feet of Ross.
Now we got a shot of Mac Jenkins. He's the bullpen coach down there. He was answering the bullpen phone.
You know, Chris, I'm kind of curious to ask you this question. What's the deepest you ever went into a game with a no-hitter? Do you recall?
Yeah, I think it was one time about the 7th inning.
Okay. Here's a question I have for you. This is one of the few ballparks where a pitcher and everybody else in the ballpark can see when a reliever starts to warm up. Okay, this is still a 3-0 game. At the end of the game, that's the most important thing, is are you going to win the game? Well, starting to take center stage more and more with every out is the possibility of a no-hitter. But if you're Brian Price, you're thinking first and foremost about winning this game. Does it do anything to the psyche of a pitcher who's throwing a no-hitter in the 7th or even the 8th to have guys warming up in the bullpen and you can see them doing it?
Well, it doesn't matter whether these mounds are on the field or whether they're out behind the outfield. Unless they're underground somewhere, you know when somebody's warming up just by looking around the ballpark.
Down the right field line, and it's a foul ball. That's the hardest struck ball by a Cub batter since the first inning when Hayward lined out to left center on the diving catch by Duvall.
How big is that catch right now?
And that really is the only play of major consequence as far as a great defensive play behind Finnegan in this game. That takes care of that. Now the bullpen will spring to life. Brandon Finnegan goes 2 outs into the 7th inning before the former Red David Ross drops one over the shortstop's head for the first Chicago hit of the night. Looked like they wanted that breaking ball further in on the hands. And the reaction of Finnegan as soon as it left the bat, he knew it.
Yeah, he did know it as soon as it left the bat. And this is a good move now coming out to the mound as Mark Riggins, the pitching coach, because you want to break up any bad vibes that may be going on the mound. Just break up the energy a little bit. Try to get him refocused into getting the last out of this inning. Maybe going over the scouting report of the pinch hitter that's coming to the plate.
Left-hander, native Chicagoan Tony Cingrani.
By the way, he convinced his dad to come to the ball game and to Wrigley Field.
Right-hander Caleb Cotham. By 1 out to go to get through the 7th. Pinch hitter sent up there by Joe Madness, Matt Caesar. Saw those numbers. Caesar has been very good when given a chance to hit so far this year. 8 at bats, a home run, and 4 knocked in. 4 hits. Well, really, this could be the final batter of the game for Finnegan either way. This will be his 110th pitch, by far a career high. Fowler, a switch hitter on deck. 3-0. And now Devin Mesoraco will come out. Cotham and Cingrani appear ready. And maybe the first signs of fatigue and mental fatigue. Working on a no-hitter, you got all that adrenaline going on, and then you issue a 4-pitch walk behind it. I'm sure Brian Price comes to get him now.
Yeah, I think you're probably right, Tom. And I'm not so sure that it's mental fatigue. It's more that you've lost that incredibly crisp edge that you were riding on here for those last few innings where you know that you have the no-no going.
So here comes Brian Price.
And now only good things can happen to Brandon.
That's
Finnegan.
right.
I mean, you know, the tying run coming to the plate. He leaves the ball game winning. Going to get a nice round of applause here from the people at Wrigley Field. And a job well done by this young Reds left-hander.
Well, you're not kidding. That'll be his final start as a 22-year-old. We mentioned that Finnegan will turn 23 in 2 days from now. So be our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. Handshake from his manager, all of his teammates. 6 2/3 innings of no-hit shutout baseball, but for the single by Ross here in the 7th inning. Caesar followed with a walk, and now the tying run comes to the plate. Caleb Cotham on to face Dexter Fowler with 2 on and 2 out. Obviously did not see any of the 12 games Cotham pitched with the New York Yankees last year, as he's fallen behind Fowler 2-0. But it's probably a fair assumption to say they did not bring him into 3-0 games with 2 on and 2 out to pitch for the New York Yankees last year.
At least not on opening day.
Certainly not on opening day on the road. But that's where he finds himself with this very young Reds pitching staff. And he's fallen behind Fowler. This will be the only bat Cotham faces. This is it. 1 and done either way. Because they have Cingrani ready for Hayward next. Wow.
So pretty close ones in that at bat, and all went against Cotham.
So here comes Brian Price. That's all for Cotham, we think. Signal's been given for the left-hander Cingrani. He will face Hayward when we come back. Bases loaded. And certainly this 3-0 lead hanging in the balance. Cingrani tries to slam the door when we come back. Stream Reds games live on your mobile device. Go to your app store, download the free Fox Sports Go app, log in, and then stream the Reds wherever you go. Well, this crowd of nearly 41,000 on its feet had nothing to cheer about. Through 6 2/3, no-hit baseball from Brandon Finnegan to the Reds. Finnegan allowed a single, walked about it. Cotham came in, walked about it. And now it's Tony Cingrani. Reds leading 3-0. Bases loaded, 2 outs to face Hayward.
Not much history here. They've only faced each other once.
Brian Price doesn't like to bring in any pitcher with the bases loaded, especially a pitcher who from time to time has struggled with command.
Nice to see pitch one for a strike.
Yes. Well, this is a situation where Cingrani needs to throw strikes, and just like that, bang, bang, 0-2. South side of Chicago, by way of Lincoln Way Central High School in New Lenox, Illinois. Into right field, that'll be a hit. 2 runs will score, and it's a 1-run game.
Well, the 0-2 pitch, a fastball that was meant to be a waist pitch up and away, and it turned into a pitch that was just a little bit above the waist and caught way too much of the plate. You know, on a situation like that, when you're in complete command of the at-bat, as a pitcher, you have to say, if I miss, I'm going to miss here. I'm not going to miss in the heart of the plate. Hayward's just too good of a hitter to make that kind of a mistake too.
The 2 runs are both charged to Brandon Finnegan. Tying run at third, and here's Bryant. Fouled out of play, first base side, strike 1 to the Cub third baseman, whose fly to center struck out looking and reached on an error by Suarez in the 6th. Two and one. Ground ball to short. De Jesus to first, inning over. So Cingrani gives up the 2-run single, but gets the final out, stranding the tying run at third, the go-ahead run at first. 1-run game. We're off to the 8th at Wrigley. Cubs are going to go to their bullpen again. Lester started it. Cahill for an inning. And now we get a look at Adam Warren. Pitch well, you see, in a hold situation against the Diamondbacks over the weekend. First batter up there is Suarez, and it didn't take long. One pitch and one out. Warren's offense has gone to sleep here the last couple of innings.
Well, that's what happens sometimes, but the Cubs have some pretty good bullpenners coming in. Warren is a guy that they got in the Starlin Castro trade from the New York Yankees. He's pitched a lot in middle relief the last couple of years for the Yankees.
So he had a nice year for them last year.
Yes, he did.
I mean, he pitched in 43 games, but 17 of those were a starter. He held opponents to a batting average of .236. Got 7 wins. This guy pitched over 130 innings with the Yankees.
And didn't walk that many, and had not quite a strikeout an inning, but fairly close to it. Young man that went to University of North Carolina. He is from New Bern, North Carolina.
One and oh the count. Well, you know, Mr. Warren then was deeply disappointed. It was about this time 1 week ago tonight when the shot heard round the world by Chris Jenkins of Villanova to hand his beloved Tar Heels a loss in college basketball's national championship game. The only guy more bummed out than him was my dad.
No doubt. I think he pulled all the shades for 3 days.
There's no doubt about it. But great game.
It was an
kid for Carolina hit that incredible shot to tie it. Page. That one ripped into right field off the bat of VOTTO, his second hit tonight. Reds leading 3-2. We're in the 8th inning, 1 on and 1 out. Clearly in that Yankee deal, the Cubs got a much more major league proven pitcher in the Castro deal in Warren than the Reds did in the quartet of players they acquired in the Chapman deal.
And it could have been what the Cubs were looking for.
Sure.
Was major league ready, and the Reds are trying to build, and they wanted to get some guys that would grow into major league players.
No question about it.
Warren's kind of an interesting guy when you break down all of his pitches. He does not throw all that many fastballs. I mean, maybe a little bit over 40% fastballs when you include his 4-seamers and his 2-seamers. He loves to throw the slider, and he also has a slower breaking pitch like a curveball. And there's a slider there.
Brandon 1 of 3 in the game. Knocked in a run with a ground out in the first. Check swing here, and on the appeal he didn't go around. He knew it. Jeff Kellogg, the first base umpire, saying no. Phillips singled, stole a base, scored a run in the 4th, fly to left. His last time up. Here's another breaking ball.
Yeah, it looked like that was a changeup. I mean, he really mixes them up. He can dial it up to 94. That's about what he averages that fastball at, 93, 94, but has a nice complement of off-speed stuff.
It's in the air and foul ground. Rizzo gave it a go. Went hard into that rolled up tarp. Thankfully, he's okay.
Boy, he just went in there really with his eyes on the ball and not on the tarp.
We've seen Rizzo in the past go up on top of that tarp to make a catch. Still a ball and 2 strikes on Brandon. Runner at first, Votto. 1 out. We're in the top of the 8th inning. And a check swing roller out in front of the plate. Ross gets the out of first. Votto in a scoring position. So the Reds are leaning hard now on Mesoraco to pick up a 2-out knock in his first RBI of the year. First 3 at-bats of the game for Devin. Plate appearances anyway against Lester. Struck out looking, grounded out, drew a walk in the 6th. Reds have no action in their bullpen. The Cubs have a right-hander and a left-hander getting loose in their bullpen. The left-hander unquestionably getting ready for the on-deck hitter should we get that far, Jay Bruce. 1-1 to Devin. And that left-hander in the bullpen is a familiar face to Reds fans. And that is Travis Wood. Bryant to end the inning. Cingrani back on the mound for the Reds. Rizzo, Zobrist, Soler coming up. Reds lead by a run.
For every game with all the info you need for that day's game with Reds Live on Fox Sports Ohio. Reds Live presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. Well, after the day off tomorrow, Wednesday comes around, and here are the probable pitchers. Right-hander Alfredo Simon will toe the rubber for the 2nd time against John Lackey. Lackey, of course, coming over from the St. Louis Cardinals in the offseason. Lackey getting beat around pretty good by the Diamondbacks his last time out. 6 runs in 6 innings. A pretty good outing, however, for the Red Simon. So here we go with Tony Cingrani on the mound.
And
Anthony Rizzo, Ben Zobrist, and Jorge Soler. The Cubs hopes here in the ninth.
Now the Reds have the big fella, Jumbo Diaz, getting ready in the bullpen. You have Rizzo, a left-handed batter. That ball is pulled down the right field line. Foul, thankfully. Zobrist is switch hitter, Soler a right-handed batter. Boy, Rizzo jumped all over this pitch.
Hang with him.
Hang with him is right.
I said the ninth, we're in the eighth. Get a little nervous up here, you know.
do
A tight
get a
ball
little-
game
I
opening
got you.
day.
These are the top two teams through the first week of the season in the National League. 5-1 records. Reds sweeping Philadelphia, beating the Pirates 2 out of 3. Cubs winning 2 against the Angels and beating Arizona 3 of 4. One and 2 on Anthony Rizzo. Ball bounces up there. You see Rizzo, much like Joey Votto with 2 strikes, really chokes up on that bat.
He's a Votto fan. I mean, how can you be a young player coming up in the major leagues, a left-handed hitting first baseman, and not like what you see from Joey Votto and learn something?
On the ground to Phillips from short right field. Oh, there's no doubt.
Busting it down the line.
So here comes Zobrist. We mentioned a switch batter. Every Cub at bat in this game, with the exception of Dexter Fowler in the 7th inning, has come against a left-hander tonight. So Zobrist batting from the right side. His 3 trips to the plate against Finnegan. Hitless. Grounder to short, liner to short, grounder to third. Reds led 3-0. Finnegan was working on a no-hitter through 6 2/3 innings before a single by David Ross into left center field. Finnegan stayed in for the next batter, walked him. Hotham came in, walked Fowler. Cingrani got ahead of Hayward 2 strikes, allowed a 2-run single, retired the last batter in the inning. And now Cingrani retires the first Cub hitter here in the 8th. It's 2-1 on Zobrist. Been a good ball game. Go to Jumbo Diaz. You have right-handed hitters, scheduled right-handed hitters, the next 3. Or does he stay with Cingrani?
Well, if you remember, one of the appearances, the first appearance of the year that Tony Cingrani came into a ball game was to face the left-hander. He walked the lefty and then struck out the righty.
One to Soler, who's grounded to third twice with a pop-up to center sandwich in between. Soler 3 hits and 23 at-bats. One very, very long home run over the weekend in Arizona. Cingrani, a great pickoff move, as you know.
Well, a great pickoff move is one that pushes the envelope right to the edge of being a ball. He lifts his leg, and really the key for Cingrani is when he brings his foot down, he drives it down. When he drives it down that 45-degree line between home and first base, and when you drive that leg down, you give the impression on the guy at first base that you're actually going to the plate. If you just step over there, there's no deception.
Reds pitchers in this game tonight have walked 7 batters. Cubs only have 2 hits. But the 7 walks along with 1 error have given the Cubs 8 additional base runners in this game. Made him look bad on a breaking ball down and in to get ahead 1-2.
Good block by Mesoraco. That time he had to really move his body to get over there. The ball spinning from the slider. You know, not telling where it's going to go.
They got a pretty good cut at that fastball.
He did, and I know you want to go with the fastball there after you had a bad swing and a breaking ball because you're not going to throw another one in the dirt and get him to chase it. But you want to elevate that a little bit more. When Cingrani's at his best, if you remember, those balls were coming right around shoulder height, just a little bit above the top of the strike zone, not below the top of the strike zone.
And there's another breaking ball in the dirt that gets away from Mesoraco, and the tying run is in scoring position. A wild pitch. Two and two to Soler. Try to get him to chase a breaking ball again.
Well, I think Soler and everybody else in this ballpark knows what's coming on this pitch. Even with first base open, he's looking fastball.
He hit him with a pitch, and that's actually a break, believe it or not, for the Reds.
And that was a breaking ball. It was down in the dirt. He's not thrown one near the strike zone.
That's all for Cingrani. I mean, you get a break because if that ball is ball 4, rather than hitting the batter, the runner advances second to third base in that situation. The Reds are looking for somehow, some way to get these last 5 outs. And still no signal given yet for Jumbo. Ryan Price talking things over here for a minute. And now he wants a right-hander Diaz. Runners at first and second, 1 out, we're in the 8th. Reds lead by a run. We're back in a moment. MLB on FS1 double dip. The defending AL East champion Blue Jays take on the Red Sox, and then an NL East battle, the Braves and the Marlins. Only on FS1. It all begins Saturday at 3:30 Eastern. Or watch it live on Fox Sports Go. FS1, the home of Major League Baseball. Reds 3, Cubs 2. Last of the 8th inning. Zobrist, the runner at second base, a tying run. Go-ahead run, Soler at first. Addison Russell, the batter. Jumbo Diaz, the pitcher. Russell is fly to left, walked and struck out. In the air, well hit, deep left center field. This baby is gone. His first home run of the season. And the Cubs have come all the way back from 3-0 down in the last inning and a third. Been a rough night for the Reds bullpen tonight. It was only 1 inning ago when this man right here, Ross, broke up the no-hit bid of Brandon Finnegan, who now cannot win the game.
Well, if not for the heroics of Brandon Finnegan tonight, Brian Price probably wondering how this team is even in the ball game. They've had 2 wild pitches, 1 pass ball, a hit batter, an error, and 8 base on balls.
Suarez to his left for the second out.
Well, that's a real shame for Brandon Finnegan what he was able to do up there tonight. And for all these fans that sat back in their seats and nary a peep through the first 7 innings are now all on their feet, chanting, singing, and getting into it.
Kawasaki comes off the bench for Chicago. 2 outs, nobody on. But a 3-run home run in front of a walk and a hit batter. On the first pitch delivered out of the bullpen by Jumbo Diaz. Rondon is the Chicago closer. He is getting loose in their bullpen. And in fact, he's raring and ready to go. Picked up a save yesterday in Arizona with a perfect night. The last inning and a third, now 2/3. After being no hit through the first 6 2/3. Cubs have 3 hits, 5 runs. They have drawn 3 walks and another each getting hit with a pitch in the last 2/3 of an inning. Fly ball on the right. Well, the Reds have one more crack at it, but the Cubs get the big crack of the bat from Russell. Sports Ohio brought to you by T-Mobile. Get major league coverage. T-Mobile has doubled its 4G LTE in the last year. And by Toyota for over 30 offers. Visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota. Well, Reds fans, you can buy your tickets through the next Super Saturday. It's coming up April the 23rd. That is a week from this Saturday, thanks to John Morrell. And don't forget, on that date, the first 25,000 fans receive a VOTTO-matic Super Bobblehead. You can see that series for as low as $12 a game in that series. 381-REDS or visit Reds.com today. Hector Rondon takes over on the mound. He has one save. That was yesterday. Boy, it's so interesting to watch these Joe Madden managed teams. Here you have a young budding star in Chris Bryant. We alluded earlier that they moved him all over the place last year. And here in the 9th inning of a game, they take him off third base, they put in Kawasaki, and they move Bryant to left field. It's very, very interesting.
I agree 100%. He just doesn't care. I mean, about the feelings of the player or anything else. If you're going to play for Joe Madden, you're going to play where he tells you to play. And he's got a ton of respect for this player.
Yes.
Rondon is no easy guy to hit, I can tell you that. He averages 96, 97 with a fastball. He's got a tremendous slider. And he's feeding off the energy of this ballpark right now.
40,882. And the Cubs 101st open in this ballpark. Not always called Wrigley Field, we talked about earlier. Weigman Park when it opened 101 years ago. Scott Schebler on to bat for Diaz. Cubs in the last 2 at bats, they only had 3 hits.
Yeah.
3 hits, yet came up with 5 runs. And now a strike away and out away from a home opener win. Schebler, a good cut to hang in there. It's only the second ball of the 11 pitches so far from Rondon. Reds trying to keep it alive. Down by 2. 2 outs in the ninth.
Oh, come on.
Rondon fans aside, and the Cubs rally, getting 5 runs in their final 2 at bats after being no hit tonight through 6 2/3 innings by Brandon Finnegan. So the Cubs go to 6-1. The Reds slip to 5-2, and there was no way that was a strike. That's just a bad call.